one of the main things we get asked regarding our support services is what's the difference between managed services and digital transformation? So can you tell us firstly, Ben, what does managed services mean when it comes to Salesforce?
So managed services, that's essentially where we look after your Salesforce org for you. So that means that we will support your users. So if you've got any bugs, errors, issues, things that need looking into, we'll address those for your user base. We can also do training as part of that. We can look at all of the critical updates and the major releases that come out 3 times a year from Salesforce, so we can check that the changes that Salesforce are making, the new additional features, or the changes that they're doing, or the bug fixes, we can basically check to make sure that they're not going to adversely affect your Salesforce. Nobody wants downtime, especially Salesforce to a lot of our clients is a critical core business system within their business. So we basically check all of the releases and the critical updates well in advance, do testing in sandbox environments, make sure there's nothing going wrong. We will also work with you on your roadmap for Salesforce. So as I just mentioned, there's the 3 major releases each year that come out from Salesforce. So we will go through that with the knowledge of your Salesforce org and your business and those new features that are coming out from Salesforce. We can advise you on things which we think would add value to your business. And we can also make ongoing small change requests. So we're kind of continually evolving the platform to run at its best and to make sure that you're ultimately getting the best value for money from your license fee investment that you pay annually. So that's what we're doing as part of the managed services. We would then do project work. Normally for managed services clients, there's always kind of bigger projects. So typically things where it depends, each client can set their own kind of boundary, if you like, but usually we kind of say within X amount of days, something is a change request, a small change request, or actually it's a major project and it needs to be scoped and costed out separately. So digital transformation services, that's where, so we have a number of really large clients who have got digital transformation projects on the go with us. So that's where they're implementing Salesforce, and they've got projects which are running anything from 6 months to 3 years plus. So this is deploying Salesforce at scale, multiple clouds, multiple integrations, really complex projects for large national businesses, and in many cases for us, actually, a lot of those businesses that are doing the really big digital transformation are multinational businesses. So what they need is they need a Salesforce team, and for varying reasons, sometimes clients don't necessarily want to employ a team full time for that because they know it's a kind of a limited time transformation project, so they don't necessarily want to have staff on their books all the time. An example could be that they are private equity backed, and that PE company is looking to exit that business at some point in the future, so they don't want to have a permanent staff team on the books as an ongoing cost. They'd rather see it as a one-off cost to the project. The other thing is that often as well, clients will want to have, they want to be self-sufficient. Most of our clients who are running these large digital transformation programs, they do have their own in-house teams, and those teams are scaled typically to be able to keep the lights on, do all the support. Essentially, those clients often have their own internal team permanently employed who can do the managed services piece that Performer IT would usually do for a lot of our smaller clients. So these really large clients, they've already got that team in place, but what they don't want to do is employ more staff, knowing that actually they only need them for a project that's running for 6 months, 9 months, 2 years, whatever it is that they need. So we can basically augment their team with our own staff. So we can build teams specifically for those clients to have whatever different types of resources they need. So whether that's architects, business analysts, consultants, administrators, developers, senior developers, whatever the need is, we can basically build a team specifically for that client. So we can look at typically the type of work that they have on, what's going to be involved in that project, what skill sets are needed. And the great thing is for those clients as well is the fact that we can add and remove resources fairly fluidly as well. With enough notice, we can do that, so they can make savings. So for example, it may be that they need a technical architect and a solutions architect for a couple of months. Perhaps it's early on in the project, but then actually they don't need those resources anymore. It's just more about the actual delivery once things have been defined. So the beauty again is for those clients that they can leverage our resources for the time that they need them, but then they don't have to pay for them, have them permanently on the books when they don't need them. So that's really some of the sort of key differences between the digital transformation, staff augmentation piece, and managed services.
So to recap, managed services is like fully outsourcing your Salesforce maintenance and management, and the benefit there is total peace of mind. Whereas digital transformation is staff augmentation and contracting experts for innovative projects.
That's right. Yeah, and typically, those are large scale, longer running projects.
Yeah. Can you give us an example of the type of business who might need managed services versus one who would benefit from our transformational services?
Sure. So if we take an example, perhaps a company that has 50 users on the Salesforce platform, they are growing quite rapidly. They don't yet have sufficient work, perhaps, for a single, full-time employed administrator in-house, and they perhaps definitely don't have enough work, say, to have a developer on board, but they will need to do various small bits of development work here and there, bits of administration. Perhaps they're going to implement some features that might need a consulting skill set. So it's really where the scale of the business and the budget and the user count doesn't really warrant having perhaps 3 full-time employed members of staff on a Salesforce team. Yet they need to ensure that they're getting value for money from Salesforce. They're constantly evolving the platform. It's growing with them. It's being adapted to their needs. They are taking advantage of any new business opportunities that come along, and that Salesforce, is configured such that it will support and enhance those processes. Give them efficiencies. Automate processes, police processes. That there can be all sorts of things that they need. Also, their users need day-to-day support. They have questions, they have problems, they need someone to be able to address that. And Salesforce, it is its own unique platform. Perhaps they've got an in-house IT admin. So we find quite often we might have customers who do have an IT in-house administrator that can look after sort of desktop applications, productivity applications like G Suite, Office 365, things like that. And they can perhaps do some of the real basics of setting up some users on Salesforce, but beyond that, it's not really their skill set. So Salesforce is, it's obviously a software platform, so it's maybe less, kind of the type of thing that somebody with a networking and sort of PC and operating system type background would support. We have also seen on occasion where people with that skill set have done their absolute best to try and support their company, but perhaps not made the best decisions in terms of how they've started to adapt and structure Salesforce. And then we've kind of had to go and wind it back to re-implement things. Again, no fault of theirs, just a lack of experience and skills and knowledge. So those are the sort of things where our managed services, really kind of come to the fore. And I think it's just that, where somebody is, as I say, a small, medium-sized business, it doesn't warrant having a full team. Maybe there's not the budget there, or perhaps the need, but they need that support. And also, if Salesforce, which to a lot of sales and service teams, it is a core critical system. If it goes down, if it's not available, that's costing that business money. So they need peace of mind. They need to know that backup is at the end of the phone. Somebody is going to make sure that the system is up and running all the time. And also, Salesforce, they apply critical updates, so bug fixes. There's the 3 major releases, and it doesn't happen all the time, but from occasionally it could be that some configuration, some functionality within your Salesforce organization might be adversely affected by that change, causing downtime. So again, we can basically make sure that there isn't that downtime because we're supporting it and looking after it. And we're also looking at those clients' business and their Salesforce setup, and continually evolving it, working with them on a roadmap of where their business is going, features they might want to adopt, and really giving them that advisory. So it's like they've got Salesforce experts on hand when they need them, and they've got that strategic advice, but they don't have the cost of a 3-man or larger Salesforce team on the books, basically.
And what about the digital transformation piece?
Sure. So for digital transformation, say for example, you've got a very large national business. It's just been invested in by a private equity company, and there are really aggressive growth plans. There's that business wants to be expanded multinationally, globally, or they want to kind of 10 times its size. Really kind of push things forward in a major way. So that business is going to go through a major transformation, and as part of those transformations, there's inevitably some kind of digital transformation element of it. So that can cover all sorts of areas of their IT infrastructure. When it comes down to Salesforce, so we typically see, we work with some really large businesses who are quite often looking to replace legacy systems. So they've got some really old technology, and that's holding them back, and it's not going to support their growth plans. It's not going to be flexible enough. It's not going to fit the new, that kind of target business model that they're going to, where they're growing to. So they've chosen Salesforce as that strategic platform on which to build, and now they've got some major works, a lot of work of replacing, as I say, legacy systems which are inadequate. And often there's so we're talking about businesses with hundreds and thousands of employees, lots of complexity, lots of complex processes. So that's where, as much as one can, it's great to be able to adopt Salesforce as out of the box as you can, not go too crazy on over customizing it, because obviously there's a cost of ownership impact of doing that. But ultimately, one can get to a size where you may need some of that, and also your innovation and your competitive advantage requires that you are doing something which isn't available on the Salesforce platform as standard or out of the box. You're pushing the boundaries. You're doing completely new, innovative things. So at that point, that business is going to have a program of works over months, or in some of our clients' cases, many years. They have a huge program going on, and they need a Salesforce technical team to be able to do that project work. But actually, they've already got in-house a Salesforce team. Some of our clients have an in-house team of 10 maybe, so they might already have some Salesforce administrators, BAs, developers of their own. But that team size, it's great for kind of maintaining things and keeping the status quo and doing the little change requests, bug fixes, checking the releases, maybe taking advantage of some of the smaller enhancements on the platform. But what the team isn't capable of, because it's just not got the scale, is huge programs of work with complex development, many man days worth of work. And that's where our digital transformation teams come in. So we can basically augment their team. We'll build them a team specifically to match their program requirements. So we'll be able to drop in the right resources at the right time. And actually that will make things really efficient for them from a cost perspective, because they're not having to hire, for example, one or more technical architects, who command a high salary and have them as a permanent member of staff. They can just pull those people in from us as and when they need them, and they can kind of drop in and out of the project. But they may want developers, an administrator, perhaps a BA or two, to sort of continually support those projects. And so that's what we do as part of the digital transformation, and we will learn that client's processes. We'll understand, how they want to work, what's their chosen sort of project management or delivery sort of methodology, what tools do they want to use, what standards do they want to have in place, and basically, our team will adhere to all of those. And in many cases, actually, we can bring our knowledge and our prior experience from what we've done with other customers to enhance their processes and their delivery mechanisms, so that we can deliver at speed and at really high quality. So that's really kind of the benefit of our digital transformation services.
How do you see the relationship between managed services and digital transformation? Are they mutually exclusive, or can they complement each other?
I think they can very much complement each other. So the managed services is obviously about maintaining the platform, evolving it over time, and understanding where that business is going, and making the kind of the smaller changes to allow the system to keep pace with the business. But perhaps not, or certainly not in our service, it's not about delivering huge projects of massive change, or implementing new clouds, or doing a major integration, or a completely custom built application on the platform. So that's where the digital transformation services would come in. So if we're talking about really large scale projects, which are very resource heavy and dependent, that's where the digital transformation would come in. So absolutely, we could, and we do have clients who we are supporting, on a managed services basis, and also with digital transformation services on top of that as well, augmenting our team that's kind of doing the managed services piece. So yeah, they're very much complementary.
What are some common misconceptions businesses have about managed services and digital transformation in the context of Salesforce?
I think it's probably similar misconceptions or concerns that companies might have with other types of outsourced agreements. So I think sometimes people believe that it will be more expensive for them, and so they may be tempted to think, actually, I'd rather employ a full-time team. I think the thing with managed services is the fact that actually we can drop in and drop out the right resources that the client needs at any one particular time. And so we have a very large team of all sorts of different types of roles, so all many different skill sets. So technical architects, solutions architects, integration architects, project managers, business analysts, consultants, administrators, trainers, all sorts of different resources, which typically, especially with maybe a sort of smaller to larger business, they probably couldn't actually have the budget to have all of those people on the books all at the same time. And so what we can do is we can provide those high quality resources, just with the amount of time that is required for that specific client. So I think as a total cost of service, actually they can have a fantastic service at a lower price than actually if they were to employ their own team. I think another thing is that there's a bit of a concern that, well, hang on a minute, this is our system, and we've got an external company out there, who understands how it all works. Well, surely we should know that ourselves. And I think that there's a worry that, well, could that information or that knowledge disappear? So I think that then comes down to really picking the partner is important. You want to pick somebody that you can trust, somebody that has been around for a long time, that you also believe is going to be around for a long time. And I think also that's got a large team, because what we do with our team is we will move people in and out of different client accounts or have multiple people supporting those accounts. So we don't just have the knowledge in one single person, it's actually spread across the team. And the other thing is that what we're doing, any changes, any roadmaps, information, we document that. So it is available to the client, so it's not just kind of siloed with us. And actually what we've seen more often than not is actually that, where we work with clients who have, one or two in-house members of staff, those members of staff, obviously Salesforce is a very buoyant industry in terms of recruitment and employment. People move around a lot. We have had clients who've employed an administrator. That person's been with them for a year or so, then they've moved on, they've lost that knowledge, then they've had to kind of rebuild. And in some cases, we've actually had some clients who have had sort of within pretty quick succession, 3 different members of staff who've come and gone. So that then they have had a gap in their knowledge. So that's something that we actively work to make sure does not happen through documentation, as I say, and also making sure that we're kind of rotating staff around. So we've always got staff available. We also have a super low turnover of staff here at Performer IT. So the chances are that if one of our consultants that actually did one of your cloud implementations 3 years ago still works here now. So if there's a problem, or if you want to enhance it or change something, we can actually pull that person onto the account to work on whatever change it is that you need. So I think there's pros and cons to all the different options that you can take, but I think that overall, particularly for a small or medium-sized business, the managed services is in reality a safer option. You're not going to lose that knowledge, and you're going to get a lot of benefit from the knowledge that if you work with Performer IT, the knowledge that our team's got from working with so many different clients, hundreds of different implementations and projects that we've done over many years, as opposed to perhaps a member of staff who's actually just only worked for a couple of end user companies on their Salesforce teams in a specific industry. So I think that's one of the things, you can actually benefit from a lot of our knowledge, and the fact that we can pull those resources in and out means that you've got access to the brightest, cleverest minds with the best experience in whatever product or area that you're looking at, but you don't have to pay for them all the time. You're just paying for the amount of time that you need them to help you. So I think for me, those are the sort of 2 biggest concerns that we see clients coming to us with when we're talking through them potentially partnering up with Performer IT.
Could you give us an example of a transformative project that we've been working on lately?
Sure. So we are working for a large multinational business at the moment with 22,000 employees in the UK, and they have over 50 different systems within their IT architecture. At the moment, those systems have been, over time, it's kind of grown, which is something we see quite often, where this kind of spaghetti sprawl grows. So lots of point-to-point integrations, multiple different APIs, different platforms speaking different languages. And what happens over time is then, as you sort of build that spaghetti of different styles of integration and point-to-point one-off things that change, then as that business wants to change things, suddenly actually the pace of change slows down dramatically and the cost of change increases, because you're not just changing one API now so it might be the same piece of data that you want to go to 50 different places, but you're now suddenly changing 50 different APIs. So it becomes really costly. So for the particular customer that I'm speaking about at the moment, we are implementing MuleSoft for them. And so they will literally harmonize. So at the moment they have lots of different point-to-point APIs. They've also got 3 different data integration tools that they're using, and they don't really have a single harmonized platform and tool. They don't have an enterprise service bus, but that's where they want to get to. So we're implementing MuleSoft for them at the moment, and we expect to make 50% savings for them in terms of not only just the cost of their actual software at the moment, but their cost of running their platforms and their integrations. And also, importantly, going forward, we should be able to make changes in half the time or even less when the business desires some kind of change. So maybe another data point needs to pass through to multiple different systems. So that's going to be a really big transformation. I think it's quite interesting for us at the moment, looking at the market. There's obviously a huge amount of Salesforce partners within the UK with knowledge of multiple different clouds within the Salesforce ecosystem. There's an awful lot of MuleSoft SIs and partners as well. But actually, if you look at how many Salesforce partners and MuleSoft, basically a company that can do both, are there's not many, and a lot of them are the really big blue chips with the associated price tag. So I think that's where Perform IT at the moment really has an edge, because we have fantastic delivery teams and practices for both MuleSoft and Salesforce that can work together on projects to deliver fantastic changes.
And finally, in what ways has the increasing complexity of Salesforce affected the demand for managed services and digital transformation?
It's changed in quite a lot of ways. So as the platform's evolved and it's grown over time through the various acquisitions that Salesforce has made, so they've integrated various products into it that they've bought in, and then they've developed new products and features along the way as well. So I think gone are the times where you could have somebody who could safely say, I know every element of the Salesforce platform. I think they're few and far between. And I think if somebody told me they did, I don't think I'd believe them anymore, because it is just such a vast ecosystem and platform these days. So that's a big change. I think the companies have really embraced Salesforce, and there's a lot of them now who really understand the power of the platform, and they are running, again, gone are the days where people thought, well, Salesforce is just CRM. We have many clients now who are running pretty much all of their back office applications on the Salesforce platform. So they're not just doing Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, perhaps a Marketing Cloud. They've also got lots of custom built processes that go beyond the sales and the servicing. Goes into delivery of their services, or production of their product and the management of that. So that then means that you need a lot more knowledge and different types of roles of people who understand all of those different clouds. And I think now, the very much, if you look at the skill set of people in the market, from an employment perspective, there's a lot more, people who are kind of, well, I'm an expert in Sales Cloud, or I'm an expert in Experience Cloud, I'm an expert in Service Cloud, or I'm an expert integration developer, for example. So you need access to quite a wide, varied skill set of people in order to be able to maintain and develop on the platform. And I think ultimately, so within the Salesforce ecosystem, we would call that multi-cloud delivery. So it's basically, you need a partner who has, members of staff who can cover all of those different clouds, all those different areas of expertise. And that's something that we're seeing happening more and more often now. And it's also going further in terms of, that there's a huge range of ISVs or independent software vendors who are on the Salesforce App Store, the App Exchange. And those are the complementing and augmenting their org. So you can have multiple Salesforce clouds, multiple ISV apps, and also a bunch of custom developed things which are bespoke just for that customer. And so when you kind of look at that, you need a partner who's got experience with all of those different clouds, custom building things, the different developer skill sets, and then also knowledge of the particular ISV apps that you're working with. So I think that's where it's kind of it's changed, and I think that some of the smaller partners now, perhaps just due to their size, don't have that range of staff, so it can be a little more difficult for them to support medium to large enterprises who do have that complexity, who do have, I think there was a few years ago, Salesforce were calling it wall-to-wall Salesforce, which is their dream, and we certainly do have clients who are doing that or have the aim of doing that. So that's where it just becomes really important to have that breadth of experience and knowledge and the right skills and the right people to be able to support it. So I think that's the differences I see that the complexity within the platform has kind of added.